Ngā mana e ngā reo rangatira mā, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ngā mihi aroha, ngā mana whenua o Tamaki Makaurau, tēnā tātou. It's my pleasure on the second reading of the Ngā mana whenua o Tamaki Makaurau Collective Redress Bill to stand in support of this piece of legislation that is an incredibly innovative piece of legislation and it will enable the mana whenua of Tamaki Makaurau to participate in processes which reaffirm their status. And for me, that's one of the major points of this piece of legislation, that in fact this bill will rightfully name the mana whenua across Tamaki Makaurau who, sites of significance, the maunga, the motu, will now have a formal role in the administration, management of those particular sites across Tamaki Makaurau. So I want to acknowledge the goodwill of the mana whenua of Tamaki Makaurau to get to this point. I think it was an incredibly pragmatic move, and I want to commend the Minister and all the officials involved. But first and foremost, it is because of mana whenua themselves that we come to this point in time where they can create a solution and then look positively to the future. What this bill also does is provide a tool for councils in the Crown to work together with mana whenua in a manner that does recognise the special status. And what it does is elevates Māori, elevates our iwi groups to the position that they rightfully have. And so I do want to highlight the formation of co-governance entity in recognition of that status, and that co-governance entity is Tupuna Maunga o Tamaki Makaurau Authority. Now, the significance of the formation of that entity is that mana whenua across Tamaki Makaurau will sit at the decision-making table with the Crown, with Auckland Council, and they will oversee the governance of maunga across Tamaki Makaurau. And so that recognition in legislation is incredibly important. And for me, it's the foundation for Māori in going into the future, playing a formal role in how Tamaki Makaurau will develop into the future. They will also have 3 seats on the Auckland Conservation Board, and the collective itself will enter into a relationship agreement with the Minister of Conservation and the Director General of Conservation. And so this really is fulfilling the partnership that the treaty guaranteed Māori, guaranteed Hapuaniwi who signed the treaty. So again, a very significant step in terms of the status that Māori have, not only in Tamaki Makaurau, but across Aotearoa, New Zealand. And I also want to highlight the vesting of 4 motu, so rangitoto, motu tapu, motu ihe, tiritiri mātangi. So again, the collective will have a responsibility with the Department of Conservation to develop a management plan about how Aucklanders, how New Zealanders can enjoy those motu. Again, a very significant step. It's a status that we will have by right of being mana whenua, and so standing side by side with the Crown, again, is incredibly significant, so I want to highlight that. I've just got 2 more points. So in terms of these co-governance relationships, what they really do is give effect to the Resource Management Act. And so I want to highlight Section 8 of the Resource Management Act and the fact now we know which iwi hapu groups people across Tamaki Makaurau can consult with. So the other importance of this piece of legislation is it makes it crystal clear which iwi groups have mana whenua and which iwi groups should be consulted by right in any developments, in this particular instance around maunga and motu. But the other issues around the issues of effects, and there's quite a bit of talk at the moment about cultural impact assessments. And again, what this piece of legislation does is it's very clear who the mana whenua groups are. And so Section 6E and 7A of the Resource Management Act, again, ensure that it's mana whenua who will write these cultural impact assessments. They're not generic. They're not for Māori outside of Tamaki Makaurau to come into Tamaki Makaurau and to say what the effects are. what this bill again reinforces is that it's for mana whenua to undertake that role. Finally, what I want to highlight is that what I hope this bill will lead to, Minister, is that councils, people of Tamaki Makaurau, people of Aotearoa New Zealand will actually fully now understand and accept the role that mana whenua have in the future governance of our region. And so, for example, in Section 33 of the Resource Management Act, there's an opportunity for our councils to transfer powers to hapu and iwi groups, for us to become the decision makers in some of these resource management decisions. And so the opportunity for us is there within the legislation. And I see this legislation as providing the clear pathway to that type of governance opportunity for mana whenua. To date, barring a joint management agreement between Tū Wharetoa Trust Board and the Taupo District Council, there hasn't been a transfer of this joint management with iwi and hapu, but I see the opportunity that this piece of legislation provides. I see the opportunity for Māori to become a greater stakeholder in Tamaki Makaurau and in fact across Aotearoa New Zealand. So I'm happy to be part of this debate today. I wish the whānau, the mana whenua of Tamaki Makaurau all the best in terms of this legislation, and know that it's the beginning to the 13 mana whenua groups across Tamaki Makaurau. Some of them have settled, Ngāti Whātua being one of them, but there are in fact treaty settlements that will take place progressively over the next few years. But from my perspective, this is a wonderful foundation for the enactment of mana whenua status for the mana whenua across Tamaki Makaurau. Nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa.
Claudette Williams.
It's a pleasure to rise.